Hello everyone. So our today's topic is the New Economic Policy 1991, also referred as the LPG model, where L stands for liberalization, P stands for privatization, and G stands for globalization. India began with its new economic policy in year July 1991 under the leadership of PV Narsimha Rao. A great question arises here that why there was a need of a new economic policy in a country. So after 1990, government found out that there are many drawbacks in our system. Indian economy experienced an economic crisis after 40 years, that is 4 decades. Our growth was not that too much where our country should be today. The government expenditure was more than the revenue. The interest on loans were huge. So there can be seen a tremendous decline in the Indian economy. As you can see in the graph, the Indian economy is the red line that is declining day by day. Along with that, we also have more reasons for a new economic reforms. So here are the 6 main reasons. So the first reason was poor performance of public sector. The expectations of the performance of public sector was fulfilled, but not at that extent. Their results were not that good. The performance were different from place to place, and it was the same all over. Their performance was almost poor. Then the people and government came to a conclusion that only depending on the public sector will not be able. We need to think beyond this. Our second point is deficit of BOP. BOP is balance of payment. Is the statement of all the export and import. Ultimately, if a country exports their good more, that means a country is gaining foreign reserve, which is a very good sign for a country. If we are only importing by neglecting export, then as we were developing countries, we need raw materials, etc. So for this reason, importing were done, but only the currencies was going out. No currency or foreign reserves were coming in the hands of India. It means that in this situation, our lot of money is going out, but no money is coming in. This situation is called deficit. When deficit happens in a country becomes weak. Their value of the currency declines as the stock of foreign reserve were declining due to the economic crisis. Third point is inflationary pressure. There can be seen a lot of inflation in the country. All commodities prices were increased because of the inflation. So this was also a serious thing we need to think about, with the help of which the inflation can be stopped. Fourth reason is fall in foreign exchange reserve. As I explained you in the second point, that our foreign reserves were decreasing because of the import were more than the export. So the number of foreign reserves were declining. So there was a need to look after the barriers and policies through which it was being a problem of exporting the goods. Our fifth point is huge burden of debts. There were a lot of debts on the country because public sector undertaking was not that efficient. They can do all the work alone, plus their main motive was public welfare, not the profit maximization. So there were a lot of debt that was needed to be clear. So there were a need of something through which the debt can be cleared as soon as possible. So our sixth and last reason is inefficient management. We all know how our management is. Our people are not happy in public sector undertaking, so the number of PSUs were there whose performance was very poor. Inefficient management was the reason where government has to think and establish a new economic policy. Throughout the economic crisis, India government approached World Bank and IMF, that is International Monetary Fund, for loan of amount $7 billion. As the World Bank and International Monetary Fund were already familiar with the economic policies of the country, they said that there should be a slight change in your Indian economic policy, like outsiders cannot trade in your country. This restriction should be avoided. Then import and export restrictions should be diminished. If only these policies are going to be changed, we will sanction you the amount of $7 billion. On this ground, it was very necessary to bring a change in policy. Hence, Government of India adopted a new economic policy, that is NEP 1991, also known as LPG model. Along with this, the stabilization measures and structural reforms measure was also taken. Now we are heading towards our main topic, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization. Our first point is liberalization. Liberalization is removal of restrictions from private sector, means liberal reduction in restrictions. Liberalize means to ease something. It means that entry and growth of the private sector, like some small scale industries were reserved for small scale based industries, some government has reserved some industries for themselves. Government has put licensing policy for everything. For example, if you have to set up a business, then licensing is important. If you have to extend or expand your industry, you have to take a license for it. So these things were removed and were made liberal. Our second point is privatization. Privatization means role of public sector declining and role of private sector inclining. That means transfer of ownership from public sector to private sector. Means public sector enterprise to private sector enterprise. Reducing government roles, not completely but at an extent, for improving of financial discipline, as public sector was not working that efficiently. Very much carelessness was seen, so privatization was a way through which a lot of works was going to be improved. It also facilitates modernization. Our third and the last topic is globalization. So basically, globalization is making one's country economy integrating with another by removing the barriers. Integrating the economy with world's economy is known as globalization. By removing the barriers of international trade, capital movement, etc., the main purpose of this is to create a borderless world market. So here we have seen the reasons why the new economic policy 1991 happened, and the LPG model we have explained it thoroughly. So I hope you understood. Thank you.